Hello, everybody. First of all, thanks for joining me in this talk, even if it has to be virtually this year. Hopefully next year we will be able to gather in a proper room. My name is Bruno Mateos, and I've spent the last 6 years of my life doing operations support for different clients here at Netcentric. As you can see in the name of this presentation, we are going to talk today about the present and the future of education and how Netcentric is planning to deal with all these changes and challenges by introducing a tool called Moodle, which is a learning management system. So let's start with the situational question. It will be very naive from my side to pretend that you don't know all what has happened in the last year. So I would like you to make some memory to trying to remind how all this mess has started. No, what has brought us here. No, like I don't know if you think about what was the root cause of all these problems. And yes, my friends, this lovely creature with the name of a Disney Plus character, the pangolin, has been accused of being the root cause of all our recent problems. What we cannot deny is that this lovely and cute face has turned our lives upside down, and every aspect of them has been affected in one way or another, from things like the mobility to social relationships. Everything has been changed. And of course, education as one of the pillars of our society also changed, also has been affected. How education was affected and how it has changed? Well, in many different ways. The first and most visible aftermath of the pandemic was the school closures. According to United Nations, in a brief that they made for the impact of the pandemic in education, 95% of students from lower to higher educations worldwide has been affected from more than 200 countries. Having the kids at home has led to some other issues, like, for example, the obvious learning loss, no? the loss in the quality. The same study from the United Nations says that 25% children will drop under the baseline of the proficiency needed for incorporating themselves to the professional environment. That's a massive impact on the upcoming generations. No? This new scenario, in many cases, led to an early dropout from school due to this lack of motivation and this disaffection with the online system. No, also the impact that the pandemic has on families, especially on those ones that were already in economical risk, has been huge. No, it has led to an increase in the already existing inequality, and inequality that was present since the 2008 crisis, and it has led also to wider the technology gap, making even more obvious that the problems that many kids well enter the 21st century have to access information technology. On the other hand, teachers and learners and students, we have to adapt ourselves to this distance learning, and this has brought some difficulties to master the tools and to switch to these new methodologies. With the transition to this more online-oriented education, we can say that we have to evaluate the characteristics of both models, the traditional one, that it's more presential, and the online one. Why we are going to evaluate the characteristics? Because they both have pros and cons, and we have to choose the best option, the option that fits best for our requirements. It is extremely important that we understand that the traditional education model is not going to disappear. Schools are going to remain open and are going to be there. Don't panic. The only thing is that probably we will move towards a more blended model, combining presential and online education. No? So let's have a look at the most important characteristics to see the pros and cons of each of them. Traditional education requires commuting, requires being present in the classroom, while online model saves that effort of having to move somewhere and having to be physically present there, no? Which is a big advantage, to be honest, especially for professional education, for professional environments. Traditional education has time constraints. You have to be present at certain time range in order to get the class. And while the online allows you to access without any kind of time constraint, you can access at any point whenever you want. The feedback, on the other hand, sorry, the networking, on the other hand, it is more effective, in my opinion, on the traditional education, mainly because it is you have face-to-face interaction, while the online education lacks of this human interaction that makes it a little bit impersonal. Discipline in the traditional model is maintained by teachers. Teachers were the authority in the classroom in order to maintain the discipline. And online education allows us to implement some other self-assessment methods that requires a strong sense of self-discipline from the students. No? And on the other hand, traditional education, it's usually more expensive to implement because it requires build infrastructure like schools and maintain them, while online education saves those costs, but it still has some costs, mainly to implement platforms and tools and online tools. The feedback, in my opinion, in the traditional one is more effective. I'm pretty sure that if Carmelo is there, he will agree with me, because it's face-to-face, basically, while online education, it's not as effective, but it will give us some other methodologies for providing feedback, like tests, that the self-assessed technologies that will let us keep track on our progression. Well, what it's clear is that the role of the teachers has changed regardless of the model that we choose. No, we have the teachers. We have moved from a role where we were content providers, we were in the class providing, delivering content to the students, to a role where we are more content moderators, and we create debate among the students, so we enable them to access the information by using a wide range of tools that we have in our hands in order to improve the learning experience. Here you can see some of the examples of these education technology tools. Some of them will be familiar for you. For example, Kahoot, which is a very popular tool for doing quiz and makes the settle down of some content that makes it funnier, and it's very effective. Class Dojo or Edmodo, which are learning management platforms, very used in the schools, and some of them are not as popular, but they are. I recommend you to have a look at them. Like, for example, Animoto, which is a very interesting tool for creating videos and interactive animations. It's pretty cool. Or Scribble Maps, which is a tool that will let us use maps as educational tool. No, will let us deliver content by using maps. From all these education technologies, these edtech tools, probably the learning management systems, what the acronym LMS, are the ones taking a major role in the last years. LMS are, as you can see here, applications for creation, administration, tracking, and delivery of educational courses and trainings. They are more oriented usually to higher education and professional development. And these platforms allows learners and teachers to deliver pretty cool courses and trainings and to keep control over the students. The massive success of some of these platforms, like, for example, Coursera, Udemy, or Pluralsight, that they will sound familiar to you because they are accessible for us through Cognizant. The success of these platforms came from the association that they had some years ago with prestigious universities and education entities like Oxford and Cambridge, in order to deliver high quality content. They were delivering, they are still delivering pretty cool courses, in many cases for free. And the impact that these learning management systems had on the education helped to shape what it's meant to be the future for the students. No? Well, probably among all these learning management systems, Moodle is the most popular one. First of all, because it's an open source initiative, as you can see here. What does it mean? That in this case, it's for free. It's Moodle, you can download it from their website, you can install it on your laptop or on your servers, and just play around with it. As an open source initiative, it has a big community around it, which is very useful, and it is used by many companies and public education systems worldwide. I don't know if some of you, I'm pretty sure that some of you there, you have kids, and it's quite possible that your kids are using Moodle in their schools or in their high schools. Moodle allows us to put in practice the most common e-learning methodologies. We can implement things like, for example, what we said before, the blended learning with this mashup between presential and online education, or another famous methodologies like one that it's quite trendy now, which is flipped classroom, consisting in the teacher creating content online in any format, text, video, or whatever, providing this content to the students so they get the content as a kind of homework at home. And then the presential classes are not used for the teacher to explain stuff. They are used for questions, for doing exercises, for basically to put in practice the content that they were acquiring at their houses. Another characteristic of Moodle, very important, it's that it's modular. We can enable or disable different modules, making it bigger or smaller, depending on the requirements or on the needs that we've got for deliver the content. And if we just want to increase the core functionalities of Moodle, we only have to install one of the hundreds of plugins that they have for free in most of the cases that will allow us to improve the core functionalities of the tool. We can do things, we can extend the features in areas like, for example, improving the user management, adding new multimedia formats for the content that we're going to deliver, or if we want to change the aspect of the tool, we want to change the user experience, making it more pretty, we can install one of the hundreds of themes that are available for us, in many cases for free, and customize them to improve the aspect of the tool. Finally, another one of the important characteristics of Moodle, it's interoperability. Like Moodle can run in most of the operating systems. We can run it in Unix, Linux, in Windows, in OS X, as you want. And also it can be run by browser in any laptop, or you can use applications that they have available for tablets or for mobiles. So at this point, the question is like, okay, why do we want to use Moodle in Netcentric? What benefit is going to bring Moodle to Netcentric? Why are we doing this? Well, in my opinion, if something defines Netcentric, is our expertise. This is something that we repeat quite often, but it's true. Over the past years, we have accumulated an impressive amount of knowledge in many different areas, from the most technological ones to business processes, or even soft skills, feedback, ETD trainings, all kind of stuff. It is very important that all that knowledge is very well organized and shared, so we all can grow and can continue developing ourselves as both, as individuals, each of us, but also as a company, as a whole company. No? By using Moodle, we will have this platform. We will have a platform where we can centralize this knowledge. And Moodle will provide us the tool to enable each of us as both learners, people that access the platform in order to acquire skills or knowledge, but also as teachers, people that contribute creating content. We will be able to deliver content in many different formats, and also we will have in our hands the tools to track the progress of the people accessing that content. Anyone who was teaching knows that tracking, evaluating is a fundamental part of the educational process. These are the main reasons of the main things that Moodle can provide to Netcentric. There are three main areas where we want to use Moodle for at Netcentric. Here in this slide, you can also see some of the screenshots of the current implementation that we have in place. We also created some trainings for showroom. If I have time at the end of the presentation, I will show you to you. The first area where we want to use Moodle, it's the onboarding. You know that we have onboarding for global onboarding for the company, but also we have onboarding for each of the communities, and in many cases onboarding for projects. Well, the idea is that all these trainings that were created, that we the ones that are possible, we migrate them to Moodle. So we save some effort and time from colleagues that they had to be teaching them. And also we make this content to be reusable at any time. We reduce the time constraints. No? This is the main area, the first area, sorry. The second area where we want to use it, for the academy. Well, as you probably know, because of the pandemic, the last year the academy couldn't happen. It was not possible to do it, and we want to take some actions in order to prevent this. The idea is to use Moodle in order to migrate as much content as possible there. It's not that the academy is not going to happen physically. We will have to see that. But we want to have at least some trainings present online so we can reuse them in the future. So all the new joiners to the company, the so-called academitos, they can access to them, they can track their progress. And also not only the academitos, also anyone in the company who was interested in a topic that the academy was providing, maybe they can access this content as well, which is something, in my opinion, very useful. No? We extend the content of the academy for some other people in the company. And finally, the last area where we want to use Moodle for, it's on the batch system. Right now, it's quite typical that one of the evidence requested for the batch ambassadors or batch managers in order to give a batch to a requestor, it's an interview, no? And an interview where they evaluate the knowledge of the person requesting the batch by asking questions or doing a test or doing some exercises. Well, the idea is that instead of using it or doing an interview, that what we do is create a Moodle course, a Moodle training. The batch ambassador or creator will create some content in any kind of format, video, text, wikis, whatever. Provide this content for the requestor to study the content. And then after that, it provides the tools for it to evaluate, to self-assess itself. No? Once the student or the requester of the batch has passed the test, it can use this as an evidence in Jira in order to get the batch. No? I think that this will be very useful also for the batch system. These are the main three areas that we are thinking of when it comes to implement Moodle for Netcentric. But we have a plan for the long term. This is just an idea, but we also would like to create what is called a massive open online course, like the ones that you probably did in Coursera or Udemy. No? The idea is that we can identify an area where our expertise is really outstanding. It's really important. Like, I don't know, for example, system administration for Adobe marketing products or front-end development for AM components. But in these areas where we have really experts, we can create a proper course with a longer extension involving our colleagues as teachers, apart from creating the content, as teachers of the course. So whoever joins this course in a synchronous way, in a time range, will be able to follow up week by week, doing the exercises, accessing the content, participating in forums, solving questions with the teachers, but also whoever wants to do it out of this time range can take the course asynchronous, no? And we'll have tools to self-assess itself and keep track of the progress. Well, by implementing these massive open online courses, I think that we can get three things. First, we get visibility out of the Netcentric environment. The company will put out there for the outside world some content that can be recognizable. Also, for talent management, I think that it's a chance for catching some good talent, somebody that joins the course and it's very outstanding, they can say, hey, come here, I will bring you to the company. And also, in the last sense, I think that we will promote ourselves as what we really are, who are experts. No? Well, at this point, at this point of the presentation, I hope that some of you are thinking, hey, this is pretty cool. This tool is very nice. I want to contribute. I want to create some content, not only to take courses, I want to create content for it. How can I do it? No? Well, there are 4 steps that I recommend you if you ever want to contribute to the Moodle creating content that I recommend you to take before starting even to work. First is identify the area where you think you have something to say. Like, are you expert on something? There is a particular thing, Elasticsearch, or something very particular that you are very interested in. Like, I have something to say about this. Well, perfect. That's your point. And also think if the online training, it's the best option for you to deliver that content. Once you identify the area, make a plan of how you're going to deliver the content. Make a plan of the lessons that you want to provide, how the content is going to be structured, well, all these things. Once you have it done, write a script. Why is important the script? Because on the third step, you will have to create the content. In many cases, this content will be video. Video is the start of the content formats when it comes to education. Educational videos are the start out there in the platforms. So if you're going to put yourself in front of a camera or in front of a microphone, it's extremely important that you have a script, that you know what you're going to say. Otherwise, you will be repeating and wasting your time for over and over. So save yourself efforts and headaches. No? So write a script and then record the content, edit it, upload it to the platforms, and you have it there already down for the rest of your life. No? And finally, the last step, it will be to create the evaluation method. As I told you, one of the most important parts of the education system is to evaluate. This is extremely important. So think about how you can allow students to keep track on their progress, on what they are doing, and how they will know that they are progressing correctly. So right now, I hope that you are wondering, I opened your appetite for Moodle and you're wondering, okay, what's the actual state of the art? What are the next steps? Well, Right now we have the tool already installed, and we are working on establishing Moodle as an IT service, working with internal IT. So Moodle has the proper infrastructure in order to be operated. After this, we will be providing access to all Netcentricos. The idea is that the access is through the Netcentric credentials. Netcentric credentials, it's a single sign-on, so you will be able to access the tool and get the role, whatever, a student or teacher or content creator, whatever you prefer. And finally, once you get the access, we will also be delivering the processes that will organize ourselves in order to work with Moodle correctly. So from a baseline, we can start to grow and provide content and make the tool grow. So the idea is that we don't break the toy before even start to play with it. Once these processes are in place, we will document them in a wiki page, and we will communicate them properly through monthly meetings, lightning talks, blog posts, whatever you need to in order to know how to use Moodle and how to participate on this project. And basically, my friends, that's all from my side. I hope that I made you remind that teacher that made an impact in your life when you were in primary and wanted you to become a teacher as well, but then life drove you through being a developer, a simple developer. Now you have the chance of taking part of this project, to participate, to contribute to your colleagues and make an impact on them. Thank you very much, all of you. And now I'm open for your questions, feelings, and thoughts. Thank you very much again. Okay, I can see one question. My dear Oscar Osta asked, how can I participate in the project creating content? Well, as I explained you before, like we are right now still in the process of settling down as an IT service. We don't want to open the platform for everybody before we have the service properly established and we have ways to solve problems that they could appear. Once the tool is in place and we are ready to start working, I will communicate to everybody properly how they can join the platform and whoever and the processes in order to be a content creator. Once you get the permissions to be a content creator, I will provide you documentation on how to create courses and how to use Moodle a little bit. And then it's up to you basically to start creating the trainings, creating the courses, opening to everybody. Moodle will be a tool, like it can be another common CMS. We know a little bit about CMS that you will manage, you will work with it openly, always following the processes that we will establish. But still, I'm afraid that probably it will take no less than 2 months before we have Moodle properly open for everybody in the company. I don't hope that that solved your question. Be sure that whenever this is ready to work, you will know about it. Valerie. Hello, Valerie. From which holacracy circle this comes from? From Brainery. This has been an idea of Brainery. They brought me into Brainery, and well, the idea was to start. When I joined the Brainery, Moodle was already implemented there, and I was using Moodle. I was doing some teaching in high schools, and I was using Moodle there. I really liked the tool, so I took the role of energizing this. And well, I think that it can be a pretty cool project. I hope that you also like it. I think it's a good chance for everybody. Alexandra Elena Marcu asked me, how can I get involved in the project? It's easy. Everybody is involved in the project. You will get your user to access, and the idea is that once you get your user, if you want to create a course or any kind of training or any kind of content, you will only have to request that your role, instead of being simply a student, which will be the basic role that everybody will get with the Netcentric credentials, you will request by opening a ticket, probably. The process is still not in place, but it will be probably opening a ticket, requesting that your role change to be teacher. So that way, the moment you get the teacher role, you will be able to access Moodle, and with the teacher role, it's a CMS. You can create there the content that you want and being able to participate. Obviously, there will be some processes, so we are all aligned on how to create the content. There will be categories for content, so we will have to organize. This will be also communicated in time. Mikel, besides teaching, can we support the initiative in any other way? Well, I have a Patreon open, so you can donate me some money. No, but apart from jokes, well, in the Brainery Circle, apart from the Brainery Circle, whoever of you are in the academy, they asked me to also join the Academy Circle because we have a, let's say, a section open there For this migration, Chucho and Carlos are taking care of this, for this migration of the academy to Moodle, no, as much content as possible. So that's another way to participate in both circles, the brainery or the academy. Apart from that, if you don't want to join any circle, again, think that this is a project that it's a CMS. All of you just been requesting that you want to create content, you will get the role where you will be able to create content, and that way you will be participating. But in any case, if there is something in particular or any idea that you have and you would like to move forward, hey, ping me, you know me in Slack, you know my phone number, and I'm open to any suggestions. No? Give and accept feedback. And thank you very much. It has been a real pleasure. I hope that you have enjoyed and this has motivated you. Thank you very much, all of you. Bye.